Hey everyone, welcome back to our June edition of our Traffic Talk. I'm Jeanne Ingersoll, our Director of Business Development with ShopperTrack Analytics for North America. I'm joined yet again by my wonderful friend, Mr. Grant Gustafson. He's our head of retail consulting with ShopperTrack. I love this time of the month being here with you, Grant. This is so great as always. And as we move into summer, we know that one category continues to stand out, and that's luxury. So while overall retail remains steady, luxury is actually giving us a really clear signal of how consumer behavior is tending to shift across the globe. So Grant, what are you seeing in the latest data and what do you have available that you can share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Jeannie. It's good to be back as well. So one thing we're seeing is luxury is definitely one of the most important stories right now in retail. Our recently released 2026 Global Luxury Report shows that while luxury has historically been resilient, it's now going through not just like a short-term slowdown, but really a structural shift. We're seeing a continued pressure from macroeconomic factors, but what's really changing is who's driving demand and how they're engaging. A couple of the highlights from the report, the luxury customer base has actually declined by about 20 million consumers in 2025, pointing to a contraction in that aspirational segment. At the same time, top tier clients are becoming even more important. A small percentage of shoppers are driving a disproportionate amount of share of revenue. And globally, performance has been mixed. Asia Pacific remains the largest market, but has lost share over the last year, while growth in the US and Europe has really been relatively flat. But the biggest shift we're seeing is more than just product led, but it's really a shift to more experience led luxury. Consumers are prioritizing travel, hospitality, and high touch in store experiences over just purchasing goods. So overall, the luxury isn't declining, it's just evolving, and it's really redefining what value looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so fascinating. So I think that gives a good view of sort of what's happening at the global scale of luxury. What does it mean for luxury retail specifically here in the United States?
Yeah. So what we're seeing is that the evolution is showing up clearly in our market intelligence data. Luxury is one of the top performing categories year to date, up around 1%, which really reflects, a recovery in demand after a period of decline, and really a need for deeper, more strategic insights. Retailers aren't just asking us to focus on how many people are coming in, but they're really looking to focus on who are their shoppers, where they're coming from, and how their behavior is changing over time, especially as the market becomes more polarized between high value clients and more cautious aspirational shoppers. Those insights have really become critical. Our data is really driving more advanced, insight led conversations with our luxury clients.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and it's so interesting to hear that, and that shift towards understanding that type of behavior is exactly where we're seeing momentum with our Orbit AI and video AI technology. We're helping retailers move beyond just kind of your standard traffic counts and focus really much more on the traffic quality, which is especially critical in luxury when it is such a high touch, high experience environment. So this includes things like employee exclusion and giving a cleaner view of true customer traffic, dwell time, which is a really strong signal of engagement in experience-driven environments, understanding where your shoppers are spending the most time throughout the store, and also demographics too, really defining who today's luxury shopper is and what does that mean, what does that mean for the brand? And that's important because the luxury customer base is changing exactly like you just said. It's becoming much more concentrated at the high end, while younger, more aspirational shoppers are behaving very differently now than they were a year, 2, 3 years ago. So Orbit AI brings all of this together, and it's helping clients surface insights faster and make even more informed decisions than they were able to do before. So when you connect it all, luxury really does become, I think, in our experience, one of the best examples of how retail is shifting from volume to value. So I grant all of that is incredibly beneficial to hear. Thank you so much for sharing. And for those of you listening, and in case you aren't familiar, ShopperTrack partners with over 2,100 retailers globally, providing advanced retail analytics and traffic data every single day. And this report that Grant just spoke about goes beyond what's available in our market intelligence benchmarking index. It's our third year in a row producing this report specifically. So to get access to our 2026 Shopper Track Global Luxury Report. You can click the link below, enter your information, will be sent right over to you. And if you'd like to learn more or continue the conversation specifically about Orbit AI, please feel free to reach out and connect with us on LinkedIn. We launched this technology 12 months ago, and it's already expanded to over 30 countries and counting. So it's obviously answering some burning questions that retailers have had for a really long time. And we're excited to be leading the technology front with that. So thank you all so much. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.
Bye, Jeannie.
Thanks,
Looking
Grant.
forward to our conversation next month.